Like I've been telling people, she laid in a hospital bed after killing two people. She was on Instagram and making TikToks, but her mother sat there and told me and my siblings and my father that she was unconscious for like 4 days. So it was a lie. Why, they were lying and telling us that she was not waking up.
Ever since Netflix dropped The Crash, the internet has been fixated on Mackenzie Shirilla, the Ohio woman serving 15 years to life for the deadly crash that killed her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, Devian Flanagan. The judge described the crash as methodical and deliberate. But while Mackenzie continues to defend her actions in a prison interview and pursue appeals, the victims' families are left to deal with the real-world fallout. I'm Katie Forrester with the US Sun. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like so you never miss an exclusive interview. Joining me now is Christine Russo. Christine is Dominic's sister, and she's breaking her silence on Mackenzie's interview in the documentary, along with her fixation on her public image, as we revealed in Jail Calls, and her fight to change the law to prevent offenders from profiting from their notoriety tied to their crimes. Hi, Christine. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you must have an incredibly busy schedule at the moment with the amount of interviews. Obviously, this case has exploded. Are you shocked by the response, firstly?
Was I shocked? No, we've been dealing with this for my brother, it'll be 4 years in July, and this has kind of always been highly publicized around our area, like Northeast Ohio. They've done some little shows, and I was notified by Netflix that it was going to be, a big movie, but I'm not shocked. I had a feeling that this was gonna, it grabbed attention, it got people talking, it was put out for entertainment, so I'm actually not. But it's been insane. It's huge.
And I was wondering, did you know that she was going to be interviewed in the Netflix documentary? And if so, what were you expecting versus what you saw?
They told me, the first time they told me that they told me when I filmed with them, because I didn't agree to do the movie until they stopped production. I didn't want to do it. None of our family did. It wasn't until almost close to the end of them, they already wrapped up and things, that I agreed to do it. But they mentioned when I did my interview something along the lines of they were going to try to interview her. But they did tell me that the Shirillas, that her parents had done it, and that was one of the reasons that I felt like I needed to be in it after the fact.
Of course. And when you did find out, they might be interviewing her or may have landed an interview, what were you expecting from that interview? How did you expect her to come across?
Probably just how she came across. I think delusional, a slight bit psychotic, no remorse. I think people saw right through her, and that's exactly what I expected.
Is this the first time, because you've obviously not seen her since the trial, I imagine, and her sentencing, if you were there. Mm-hmm. How did it feel to actually see her on screen? Was that quite emotional?
Yeah, I think I cried for like a month after previewing the movie. I haven't seen the final version since it came out, but, seeing it just makes me sick, honestly. It's sickening. It makes my whole family sick. It's hard to watch. It's hard to listen to. But yeah, since I have not seen her since the trial, that would have been the first time. And it's quite sickening.
And obviously, we want to talk about their relationship, and obviously that you're now advocating for your brother after his death. Firstly, because of the success of the Netflix film, Hollywood often comes calling after successful documentaries like this. Have you heard anything about there being a movie made, and how would that make you feel if people in Hollywood did think that this was something that could become a movie?
Right now, I'm trying to ask the public. After the Netflix movie came out, this has not been, our family it's not good for us. It's just been so hard. We do not want any more movies or documentaries coming out, unless we're the ones producing it, you know what I'm saying? And it goes what we want to say, I guess. But even so, shedding light on and sensationalizing my brother's murder, it's just, we're done with this, you know what I'm saying? I hope this is over in a couple weeks. I keep telling like my dad, who keeps reading comments and hate messages and things, like, Dad, this is gonna blow over, and then we're just, I'm trying to, with my podcast and my foundation, to establish something, and the platform that I've created to try to change, make a little positive come out of this tragedy in any way, shape, or form. But no, that wouldn't be. We would not want that.
Nobody needs Shirilla the Killer, the movie, at all.
She would love that, and that's what we don't want to do, right? We don't want to give her any more attention. Let's cancel Kenzie, cancel them other creeps in the show, the documentary, cancel a lot of things. There's a lot of bad people, trying to get famous and what is it called? Rage baiting or clickbaiting, whatever it is. And it's infuriating to sit back and watch people try to use your brother's death as, their tools of gaining attention. And that's the other thing, is the petition that I started. I don't know if you saw that, the Dom and Davion's law, with the petition to modernize the Son of Sam's. That's a big thing. Like, we don't want her gaining any fame, fortune. That's all they've ever wanted. That has like 100,000 signatures, I think, so far. But very, very important to us to get that law passed. So.
In the documentary, Mackenzie claims for the first time on camera that she is not a murderer, but simply a driver of a tragedy. Hearing her say that, those exact words, what goes through your mind?
She's just trying to save face and make herself look better. She really just, her goal from day one was to deny and deny and deny. And it's her and her family that backs her and enables her. But I am not surprised that that's what she was going to do. That's what her attorneys probably advised her to do. I've had body language experts look at it, and it's all like top of the line body experts. The guy's name's Scott Taylor, Scott Taylor, I think. And I've had experts look at it and review it, and her body language, everything, it's all bull. It's all a facade.
And obviously, she's still trying to appeal. I think she's not up for parole until 2037. When that time comes, will you be contacting the parole board, and how would you describe her character?
Without a doubt, we're gonna all be at the parole board. We were gonna be at the parole board the second that she was convicted, with plans of going there. Now with just so much more ammo, because the family doesn't stop. Left and right. They just did 2 other interviews this week where they're bashing my brother, his character, his legacy. It's all he has, and our family, and lies and manipulation. They've made it so much worse for themselves. They show no remorse, don't take accountability. But we will be there, and with all of these clips and audios and, witnesses that are in prison with her, we'll be there. There's no way she's going to be paroled.
And you recently stated that Mackenzie is rotten to the core. Was there a specific moment or statement she made during her interview in the documentary that solidified that feeling for you?
No, just I think knowing as a person what she did, who she is, who she was, what she's doing, with her family behind her. She's just a bad seed from day one. I've heard from, with this coming out, I've also had, acquaintances and friends and things, people that knew her growing up, that have come out and told me heinous, disgusting stories about how that family was and how she was, the bullying, things that I obviously didn't know about. I'm 13 years older than Dominic, so I didn't know she was a terrible bully, a mean girl in school, things like that. There has been so much that has come out, and I've heard, so, and even before that, after that, I mean, she murdered my brother, so if that's not a bad seed, I'm not sure what is.
Much of the public narrative is about Mackenzie. To talk about your brother, is there anything that people are missing about what he was like as a brother, a son, and, a human being? Because I think people are missing the humanity behind this and focusing on her.
Yeah, it's another reason I have the podcast, is to try to bring awareness to the families behind true crime. Like, we are a family. He was a real person. We are grieving like no other. In fact, I don't know. I feel like that this is the worst thing that's ever happened in the entire universe, the loss of him. It's affected so many people. He was kind, giving, caring, funny, fun to be around. I was a lot older than him, so he was like my baby. Played basketball, was a great uncle. He was a child, you know what I'm saying? He was a young man. He was not, I don't even consider him an adult. He was a baby. And it has wrecked, completely shattered so many people, his best friends, my family, our parents, you know, my siblings. It has shattered from the core. Like this is bad. It's really, really bad.
And like you say, he had a lot of passions as well, from music to stock trading. Do you have a favourite memory that you'd like to share that people have not picked up on, with obviously the focus being on the crash?
People have asked me that in a few interviews. I've probably done like 40 interviews this week, and I try to remember like a different one for each one so that, like, I don't know, he can be remembered a little bit. But I talked about a Scarface one already, the one where he was at the birth of my niece, sitting in the hospital with my sister. There was just a lot. We were a really close family, so it's hard to point down one really great one. I just reminisce and think about, like, I used to pick him up like he was my best pal. Like, I had visitation, our parents divorced, and so like I would pick him up on the weekends and we go to water parks, and then I started having kids, and like he'd help me take care of them, you know, get together birthday parties. He was my right-hand man, you know what I mean? Play basketball, things like that. With my son, teach him, you know what I mean? I was at all his games. I loved watching him play basketball. That was probably my favorite thing. That's why I did the foundation. It's called Change the Game for Dom Foundation, and I'm raising funds for underprivileged children in Ohio that need help and assistance playing basketball, sponsoring leagues, sponsoring teams, helping pay tuition, and that's because basketball was so important to Dom, so important to our family.
And obviously, like you say, these are stories of a real person, not a character that people, you know, obviously when something like this happens, your family and victims of true crime can become characters in a plot. Is this the way that you're now protecting, you know, your brother's dignity and memory?
Yes, it's so crazy to me that, like, the whole world is tuning in. I still haven't, like, I don't know. I still, sometimes I'm so out of touch with reality that he's even gone that I think it's a story sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how my brain copes with it. So when I'm talking to you, like, I'm telling a story. And then I remember, okay, now there's millions and millions of people online thinking it's a story as well, because people have been so desensitized on the internet. Like, death like this is just normal to them. They don't see that these are actual people, an actual family. I have a huge family, lots of family and friends that know me and know how this has affected us. That's really all I, you know, that I think about. But then I always forget, like, there's actually millions of people out there that think that this is like some kind of story. But like, yeah, it's not. It's definitely not.
And Mackenzie is still 21 at the minute. Do you think there's ever going to be forgiveness? Do you think she's ever going to change how she feels about this? I know she stated she wakes up every morning and is trying to be the best person that she can be, and feels a void from losing Tom and Dominic, Don and Davy. And I can see you grimacing there.
I just spoke to two girls that was in jail with, and she wakes up every day at 6 a.m. to do her hair and makeup and bully people in the prison yard, and it's like a socialite in prisons. She is so self-absorbed and selfish. If she does ever pretends to show remorse, it is just that. She will be pretending. She is a narcissist. They don't do that. So the parole board, any appeals, anything, they will see right through her. Any judge, any doctor. She ever comes to a point where she decides to show remorse, her or her terrible family, we know that it's just an act.
And obviously we've heard a lot of jail calls as well with her mom, and like talks about if she was going to come out, she's going to be an influencer and write a book. You know, how does it make you feel hearing that?
It's infuriating. It makes me sick. That's why I'm doing the Dom and Davion's law, to modernize the son of Sam, you know, so that she can't gain fame and fortune, because that's all they've ever cared about. Within hours of killing my brother and Davion, she laid in a hospital bed getting modeling gigs online and making TikToks. So very important that we get this petition signed and passed. I'm calling on lawmakers. I need assistance. If anybody's out there that can help, please reach me. But they sit there, and when you hear them laughing about the case getting around the world and their laughs, it's so dark and twisted to me. It makes me sick. I don't know what's wrong with them people. I really don't. But you've heard them, and you could only imagine they're actually laughing about like she killed two people, one, the supposed love of her life for 4 years that she just loves, and there's absolutely no remorse when you're laughing about how you're gonna, get famous after you get out and write a book and become a model. That's what she's telling people. She's gonna get out and become a model.
And the filmmakers obviously noted that Mackenzie's lawyer was present during the interview that she did for the Netflix documentary. Do you think that that was genuine, how she came across, that those were her feelings, or do you think it was highly rehearsed or legally calculated?
Oh, you can tell that those weren't her words. That wasn't her body language. It's not the way she talks. You can tell that was completely rehearsed, almost like she was reciting. And like I said, I had a body language expert, well renowned, and he goes through it. It's on my podcast. There's a whole episode on it, but he from like, so everything that she's doing is like the tells. And she sits there and asks her lawyer if that's okay. But honestly, I don't think they should ever do any interview, because they're making themselves look worse and worse and worse. It's ridiculous.
I know obviously there's been a lot of backlash, hasn't there? And the dad he may be even looking at losing his job. Do you think he should lose his job?
I think that they need to stop blaming my brother for his own death. I think they need to hold their daughter accountable. I think it's too late obviously they raised a monster. She's a bad seed. They raised a monster. I don't want to put that on them. I don't wish bad on anybody. I think they need to change and become better people. Because there's not places in heaven for people like that.
And obviously we've seen, since the Netflix documentary came out, all of the jail calls, the thousands and thousands of text messages, different court documents. Had you seen everything that was available before this, including text between your brother and Mackenzie? And is there anything that's come out recently that you didn't know or you hadn't read that shocked you?
I haven't known anything. So I knew this Netflix movie was coming out, and before that, like, I refrained from my entire family. I have one brother who sits there and reads comments and drives himself crazy, and we always got to tell him stop, you know what I mean? But I have refrained from I won't look at his text messages unless someone points out something really important to me and it's like, hey, Christine, you need to see this. Like, I would not go in and look at my brother's private text messages. It's an invasion of privacy. I would like to know how to get that off the internet. I have not listened to, the calls make me sick. So now I hear like bits and clipses doing the interviews. I tried to review some with the podcast, but no, I don't. Most of it is all new. I know she's guilty. I sat through the trial. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and I knew her as a person, and we know what happened. Now, the after the fact, all this drama and the spotlight on it and how she acts, that's just showing the world now what a terrible person she is. I already know. But no, I haven't listened to any of the stuff.
Because there are thousands of text messages that show how, she was threatening him previously. That must be really disturbing. You don't want to see them in black and white now.
Yeah, I just wish that I wish I would have known. I wish I would have saw it prior. And, I don't want to look at it because it's like, I can't do anything about it. So what's the point looking at it now? I know she's guilty. The world can see it now. The text messages, her threatening him, that's just showing the entire world. We already know. The judge found her guilty for a reason. She's not getting out of prison for a reason.
And what were your first impressions of her? I know you've spoken about this previously, but just give us an insight into what your first impressions were and whether you thought she was right for your brother.
First time I met her, we were in his backyard, and she came over in a little skimpy top. Didn't show me any attention, any respect. Wouldn't say hi to me. Didn't introduce herself. I remember her like flinging her, and this was probably 8 years ago. But I think she was like flinging her body like all over him, and like, you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't very respectful. Instantly did not care for her whatsoever. I thought she was pretty trashy. Too trashy for my brother.
And you felt she was disrespectful towards your family at all?
Yeah, just the whole like not to everybody. Her not introducing herself, just the way she carried herself. She was just so, you could tell she was self-absorbed and I don't know, floozy-ish, I guess. You could tell instantly how she was.
And they were together for 4 years, was it, on and off? And obviously they lived together. Was there any point where you tried to intervene and tried to pull your brother away from her, or you just wanted him to make his own decisions?
There are family members that did that. I did not, I was not aware of what had been going on, but there are family members that definitely did that, and tried to intervene and that he confided in.
And was there ever any a moment that you realised Mackenzie wasn't just reckless but dangerous?
No, not until after the fact. I did not know that, no.
He didn't ever tell you he was scared of her or scared of anything that she might do?
He confided in other people, just not myself, but I have heard firsthand that yes, he had.
And do you feel now that there are any warning signs the public still doesn't know about that were there in the beginning?
Just, I guess, like I've always said, like the isolation and her having to be with him all the time, but nothing like, I mean, God, you don't ever think somebody's gonna murder your brother. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Unless she came out with swinging knives, that would be weird. You know what I'm saying? But like, I wish she would have. That would have been a great sign, and maybe he would have ran faster. But no, there's really, I don't know if you ever see signs like that in a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? They are very much, they hide these things. So, nope.
And it seems that she's the same person in prison from what we've heard. How has it been to hear how she is behind bars?
I am not surprised, whatsoever. They're actually not even a tad bit. I talked to Cheyenne and Kat that were in prison with her, and they had a lot to say. I think Cheyenne dated her, but like, I don't even know if it even surprised me. She plans on coming out getting modeling gigs. She's a bully in there. I'm surprised that she's living so lavishly. Actually, I'm not, because everybody's sending her money. We have to stop that. I want to bring awareness to not giving her attention. But I guess she's living lavishly in there and she's a bully. I'm surprised she's got it so good, honestly. I was expecting different.
And obviously there are still a few people that believe that she's innocent. Do you have people like that reaching out to you, and what do you usually say to them?
Somebody got my phone number this morning and was texting me the most disgusting things. I see it online. I'm not paying it any attention. I think it's the internet. There's a lot of trolls out there. There's a lot of bots, a lot of trolls, a lot of misinformation, a lot of false accusations. You only get pieces of a story. You don't know everything. I'm sure you know that. You guys see it, but it's like, I don't care, I guess. Sometimes it gets, I'm not looking at comments anymore, put it that way. But we know she's guilty, so it doesn't, and the world knows, and the judge knows, and who matters? They know what happened. It doesn't matter what all these people think online, you know what I mean? But there has been a lot of threats and trolls, just complete weirdos that I picture in a basement alone, around 50 years old, cats, and just they sit behind a keyboard. And you know what I'm saying?
You've had death threats of people that still believe she's innocent?
Yeah, like threats, like I said, I got some pretty nasty text messages this morning. I don't know how my number got leaked, but I'll change it. I don't care. And God knows what happened, and that's all that matters. And the world now, actually.
And what did you think of the Netflix documentary as a whole? A lot of people felt that there was quite a bit missing from there that obviously showed more that she was guilty, certain facts were missing. What did you think about it?
I thought they did a pretty good job, I guess. The production company, Netflix, they were really nice. It was their job to make an entertaining movie. I thought of course there's going to be misinformation, and of course there's more facts to the story because you only have, what was it, an hour and a half or something? So there's a whole lot. And if you watch my podcast, I try piece by piece to review missing facts and misinformation and things like that. But there's only an hour and a half, and I thought they were pretty fair. I mean, look at their interview. They didn't even have to do anything else. They could have just played her and people would have hated her. Like, look, you look like a psychopath. So.
I think it was in March 2025 when the 8th District Court of Appeals denied Mackenzie's request for a new trial. Yet she continues to file appeals. Is that quite exhausting for your family that she keeps trying to get a new trial?
Yeah, because I guess it weighs in the back of our minds at all times, you know, and she won't stop the appeals. I know she's not getting out. We know she's guilty, but you never know with, you know, I'm not an attorney, so if there's like some kind of legal technicality or something weird, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Things happen. I've seen things like that on TV, but we know she's guilty, but it weighs in the back of our minds a little bit. I don't think she's ever getting out.
And she said that she doesn't remember anything and even talked about getting a hypnotist to try and remember what happened. Do you believe any of that is true? And what do you think of her comments?
I can go on and on about how that's not true and how it was proven not to be true. There's experts in, you know, physical and mechanical and health experts that testified at trial, and it is not true. Her comments, I think it's just from the day one, and I know they tried to corroborate the story that she did not remember from the second that this happened. Like I've been telling people, she laid in a hospital bed after killing 2 people. She was on Instagram and making TikToks, but her mother sat there and told me and my siblings and my father that she was unconscious for like 4 days. So it was a lie. Why, you know, they were lying and telling us that she was not waking up and, you know, she was unconscious, but like now come to find out she was very much awake and conscious, and they were just trying to corroborate a story, you know what I'm saying? So I know these things, but...
And people that have spoken out who were in prison with her have said that they never they haven't seen any symptoms of POTS.
Actually, what's funny, and you know, we have to be careful about what's being said, of course, because of appeals and parole and things like that, but one of the girls that she's in prison with actually has told me that she's like pretending to have POTS episodes now. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was never a thing. It's not a thing, but I guess sometimes she'll be talking to her and pretend to like go off into space or something. It's a whole act. It's demonic. It's psychotic. This is real life. It's not a story. I can't make this up.
And obviously now we're focusing on your Dom's Law that you've got and you're pushing lawmakers. Tell us about that and how that all came about.
All right, it's Dom and Davion's Law. A few weeks ago, as I'm listening, you know, people are sending me calls and I'm seeing things about how she plans on getting out and getting famous, and all her calls about how she's getting famous. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, as I'm doing my podcast, Big Sister Unhinged, and I'm like, I gotta stop this. Literally over my dead body, will I allow her to be the next Gypsy Rose, you know, and get out and become rich and famous? This is what she's always wanted, you know, that's all she cares about from the second forever, you know. And so I was sitting there thinking, and now it's Dom and Davion's Law, but it's just modernizing the Son of Sam's, because it was written in the 70s. It only covers like books, book deals, journals, newspapers, things that weren't around in the 70s. Now with the digital era, you have social media, you've got GoFundMes, you've got loopholes, you have family members taking in donations and things like that. I want to cut all that out and make it so she can't become, I know people say it's freedom of speech, or it's, you know, your right to be famous, or I don't know, say what you want, but it's not okay to profit off of killing somebody. That's what I want to stop. So we'll be working with lawmakers, and like I said, if there's anybody out there, please email me, thebigsisterunhinged@outlook.com. I need all the help that I can get.
And what has the response been like so far to that from Ohio lawmakers and within the community?
I think the petition already has like 100,000, I haven't checked it, 100,000 signatures. People are going, it's not just Ohio though, the world needs this law. It's all over the place. I just got off the phone with, off an interview with Nancy Grace, and she was like, this is like, it is long due. It does not cover the Son of Sam's, doesn't cover, not all states have it, but it doesn't even cover, like anything that's going on in the world today. People are getting out of prison and they become TikTok famous, you know, and they become YouTubers and things. Like, I'm not knocking them, but you shouldn't be able to profit off of killing somebody, you know what I'm saying, and becoming famous for that.
And like you say, it does seem that seems like she wants to be the next Gypsy Rose, and obviously wanting to get Kim Kardashian involved. What did you think of that? And we've now heard that Kim is not interested.
I when I first heard that, like Kim's reply and things, I don't know what I felt. Like I thought it was a joke, I think they're twisted and live in a fantasy world. But her declining that, I I'm never happy about any of this. Everything makes me really, really sad. I felt sadness, what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, my brother's not here still. Doesn't make anything better. Kim, I appreciate you not taking on the case, and trying to get my brother's murderer out. She's 100% guilty. So I'm sad all the time.
And how are things going to be for you now with the success of this Netflix documentary? Do you think things are going to calm down a little and you can focus on your own life?
I'm hoping it does calm down. We have to, at some point, our families have to try to start to heal, and that has not happened. It's been almost 4 years. I miss my brother every day. I don't want to not, I don't know. I'm okay with hurting. That's just me. But like the world going crazy about it, like my dad doesn't know how to shut off his Facebook. He's older and he's just miserable with these comments. And, some of our family is really, really private and they've chosen not to speak, and it's not fair to them. I'm tired of having to defend my brother and the family. I'll never stop. Am I tired? Yes, but I'm going to keep going. So I hope it trickles down just the popularity, but after I get this law into place and after people see this foundation, I guess. Because I'm using the platform, I'm going to try to spread awareness for domestic violence in teens. I want to go to high schools and talk about red flags and put on trainings and talk about domestic violence and the warning signs. I want to talk about grief, and this will all be with my podcast. There's a lot of things that I want to do, but are we ready for everything to calm down? Yes.
Yeah, because obviously grief privately is one thing, but in the spotlight is a completely different beast. How are you coping personally, and do you have plenty of support?
I have a lot of support. I don't know if I'm coping. I'm doing about, I don't know, 10 interviews a day to keep myself busy. So I'm surrounding myself, keeping myself busy. That's the way I cope, the way I grieve. So when this all dies
And
down,
turning the attention into a good thing.
yes, I have a mission, and that's what I'm on.
A woman on a mission. We love to hear it. I'm sure it'd be incredibly proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I know.
And how do your family feel about this and you taking on this role?
Some are more private, so they are iffy, but others are so pleased and proud and happy that I've done this and that I'm speaking and sticking up for everybody. But the ones that are more private, they haven't, the grief, it's astronomical. We have not even begun to properly grieve. Nobody's processed this. Like, it is so bad. So everybody's feelings are all over the place, but everybody's pretty much like, it's been a good thing, I guess. Now I have a platform where I can tell the truth and, kind of battle the misinformation and try to make something positive, like the foundation and the petition.
And there are a lot of negative comments coming out about your brother online regarding, how he made his money and things like that. Is there anything you wanted to say in response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it, I don't know, probably 100 times, but my brother comes from a pretty well-off family. He had a lot of resources. There's lots of videos and things and pictures of him with stacks of money and things. Like, he had resources. He started a clothing company. He was ambitious. He was not involved in illegal activities. So to see it is infuriating. He was a child. It's disgusting to watch people try to victim blame him and, and say, oh, well, he was this or he was that. It's just not true. And it's gross for people to talk like that about someone who's not here. That's why I'm doing the podcast.
And people sort of think, he deserves to die. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the comments have been absolutely horrendous that we've seen.
My dad got one the other day, and somebody said that he deserved to die, that he was dealing hard drugs or something, and I was like, that is so. It's not true at all. And my dad is like, it's so. Why are people saying these things? I'm saying? The internet runs wild. So things like that, yeah, it's all over. Everything that you see on the internet, guys, most of it is not true at all. So
And you said, obviously, thank you for giving us the time today.
Thank you, though, for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Well, that was certainly eye-opening, and Christine is an incredible sister for the way she's worked to persevere and honour her brother's legacy. Turning personal loss into advocacy takes a huge amount of strength, and the work she's doing, including the petition on change.org, is helping keep this conversation alive and pushing for meaningful change, making sure the focus stays on the victims, not on Mackenzie's desire for attention, fame, or fortune. Don't forget to like or subscribe for more stories like this one with the US Sun.